They were rampaging along, won their first 2 games. They've lost their last 2, but they could have probably won both of them.
A fantastic looking facility there in the deep south.
I'm sure they're going to come out firing tonight.
From memory, he was leading last week. Are you going to be leading this week, or?
From bottom with 6 points and second from bottom with 3. Yes and no. Yes and no. It paid off for them. They got a 2, doubled a 4 and won 6 points. Depends what the teams above them do, doesn't it?
Welcome to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. I'm Erin, and on this episode of the Bowls Show today, we will chat to Erica and Meg from Bowls Canterbury about their backgrounds and their current roles. Then we'll talk with Wendy Suttie about her upcoming umpiring. And lastly, we'll chat with Mike Galloway about his recent Commonwealth Games selection. But now, Alex, you're back, and do you want to give us a rundown as to why we have missed you for the last 2 weeks and what we may have missed in the last 2 weeks?
Yes, certainly. And it's good to be back. It's good to be back in the studio making the Bowls Hour, Erin. So week 1 that we didn't have a Bowls Hour, I was in Wellington trying to play, or actually playing indoor bowls.
Who gave you the time off?
I asked really nicely, and I was allowed to go, so that was cool.
Yeah. How did it go for you?
It was successful.
Yes.
It was my lead, Colin Williams, who's also a Bowls New Zealand staff member, and myself managed to win the indoor national pairs, which was pretty exciting.
Yay!
Very exciting.
Congratulations.
I haven't it hasn't sunk in yet, but very happy.
Why would that be?
I don't know. It's just hard to sort of grasp. You spend a long time trying to get one of these things. So that was exciting. It was a really good week. And I was looking forward to coming back for week 2 and starting the Bowls Hour again. But we were struck down, unfortunately, by the COVID.
Oh, no.
So I had a week where I didn't feel that good, and neither did Colin. I suppose it's the price to pay. You take a risk when you go to an event, and we knew that it was a chance. So such is life.
Such is life.
We've recovered, and we are back now. So after a 2-week break, we have the Bowls Hour back again, which I'm excited about. And I did ask, I asked on Facebook last week when we said that the Bowls Hour was canned for that week for people's thoughts on nice greens they've played on before. So I thought I'd read out a couple of them if we think that's a good idea. Just
I think
to sort of start a bit of conversation. So Brendan Moulton, who's been a contributor before, said Paratutu's got lovely greens, as nice as greens he's played on.
Yes, there's big competition down that way that has use of that green quite frequently, isn't there?
Yeah. And for the Open, all the clubs in that region always try and get their greens up to a pretty good standard. Sam Morton reckons that tucked away in a small South Otago town, Kaitangata, is pretty good. Mm-hmm. I'll take his word for it. He said it's slick and true. So that's, I suppose, good words for a green. Bayview and Napier reckoned Diane Haswell, which I fair call.
Diane Haswell the green, or Diane Haswell reckons Bayview and Napier?
Diane Haswell reckons Bayview and Napier. Not the green.
We still got the brain fog going on, do we?
Yeah, don't mind me. Sean Scott, Bannockburn green, and he also said, interestingly, it's the most inland green in New Zealand, which I thought was fascinating. I suppose you get that. It's down south somewhere, isn't it? We'll go, yeah, it's down south. If it's not, someone can correct me, but I feel like it'd be right smack bang in the middle of the South Island somewhere.
Is anyone saying why they're claiming them to be the best green or the best beautiful green to play on, or are they just telling us these greens?
I have a sneaky suspicion that we've got the bowler's pride in your club popping out, which is good to see.
Yes.
And they've gone, well, you know.
Shout out about your green.
I like this club, I'll say it. So it's a fair call. So I think we've had a few. Graham Hewitt said Hinuera and Tui Park are nice greens. It was good to see some pop up, and I think, years ago.
I do know that Hinuera is a 40-metre green, isn't it?
It is.
It's a big, natural 40-metre green.
It's one of the biggest greens in New Zealand. I've played there. They used to have something, well, they still have it, I think, a Matamata Combined Fours tournament.
Yes.
Which is based off the Taranaki Open, so it's 25 end games. Mm-hmm. We played out there, and it was an interesting experience because they're long greens, and it was a day where there were a few flies on the green because it's in sort of farming country.
Yes.
So you play your bowl, and all the flies lift up, and your bowl goes underneath it, and all the flies settle back down again. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah. Interesting time. No, I don't think we killed any of the flies. They all got out of the way in time, but that 40 metres by 40 metres.
Changes your game.
An interesting time. You also spoke about what we've missed in the last couple of weeks,
Yes.
Erin, and there hasn't been a huge amount of outdoor bowls going on our side of the ditch. But on the other side of the ditch, Australia had their biggest event, the Australian Open.
They did.
Where there's some insane number of thousands of entries into this thing, and it went for 12 days or 14 days or something.
Yep.
So Sky Sport picked up some of the coverage of the Australian Open, which was good. And if anyone watched and we asked them to, they will have seen that there were 2 New Zealanders in the women's pairs final. We had Olivia Bloomfield and Paris Baker from the Newland Bowling Club in the women's pairs final, and they won it convincingly.
Congratulations, ladies. Well done.
It's a pretty fair effort. It's the biggest event, certainly in this area of the world, so to go through and win it. And they had a mic on Olivia, and it was a good time.
Yes,
It was worth watching. I think anyone.
Ladies, if you are listening, you might notice that there might have been a lack of congratulations on Facebook from us, but our social media person bogged down with COVID last week probably wasn't going to give you a good shout out trying to beat COVID. So congratulations and well done.
Yeah, for sure. We're happy to see it, and it's a good time. What else was I going to talk about, Erin, in our introduction?
So, Alex, in that list of greens that people have sent through to you, can you notice if any of them are artificial, or are they all coming through as natural?
That's a really good question. Not at a glance, but I would like to just talk to that a little bit, because I've been pondering, and I think with artificial greens, a lot of us still think of what artificial greens were like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, where there was a lot of sand-based artificials. So not only did they not play that well, but they usually scratched your bowls up.
Oh.
So bowlers, it's sort of an overhang from that. It's a bit stressy. You go to sand-based artificial and your bowl gets scratches on it. We've moved on from that now, I think, and there's a lot of lovely carpet artificial greens out there that play just as good as any grass green I've played on. Henderson, for example, in Auckland, has an artificial green right out the front of their clubhouse. It's lovely. It's 17 or 18 seconds. You chuck it out, it comes back. Your bowls don't run along the seams. Kohimarama has their back artificial. It runs close to 20 seconds. It'll be interesting. I think it's worth thinking about how good artificial greens are now. And they're only going to get better, aren't they, with the technology?
Yes, and supply. And on artificial greens, I guess the second thing about an artificial green is it allows you to play all year round.
Oh, for sure. No, you can play even in the rain. Like if we were... it's well known, like with our nationals, they're a big event, and we have an ever-decreasing amount of grass greens available. I would be unsurprised if in the future we had to play some of our national events with section play on artificial greens. If it rains, we already chuck them to artificials anyway, because the artificials soak the rain up.
Yeah.
And it's even better if the artificial's playing well, which I think they will, because we're just seeing them improve and improve and improve. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the next 5 years sort of has to hold for artificial greens and bowls. I think it makes a lot of sense.
I think it's great that people can just keep playing their sport all year round.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're no longer a winter or a summer sport. We're an all-year-round sport.
Yeah, you just go, well, as long as you can deal with the cold weather. But put a jersey,
wear a jacket.
Put a jersey on.
Put a jersey on and hope it's just cold and not rainy.
No worries.
Unless you've got a cover, and then that's a covered green, and then that's a whole other story.
A whole more conversation, yeah.
We'll talk about that another week. But, all right, thanks for that, Alex. It's really interesting discussions. And once again, congratulations to Olivia and Paris on their win across the ditch last weekend. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Meg and Erica from Bowls Canterbury here on the Bowls Hour. Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. So, Alex, who have we got next?
Well, Erin, I'm happy to say that we've got Meg and Erica here from Bowls Canterbury, and they're in the studio, so the sound quality is going to be good, which is always, that's good news. So thank you guys for joining us, and I thought we'll start at the beginning, and we'll start with you, Meg. And if you could just talk us a bit through your background before you got to Bowls Canterbury, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure. So I actually actually started playing bowls way back in intermediate, and started as a wee bit of a joke almost amongst some friends, as that kind of age group does. Had to pick up a Friday sport, and didn't really feel like going out and playing ripper rugby. So ended up just tagging along with a couple of friends, and my nana played, so I kind of grew up watching her from the side of the bowling green with a packet of chips and a raspberry Coke, and I thought, yeah, I could do that one day, but probably not for a while. And then I ended up actually getting into it at the age of 12. So, I actually played right throughout intermediate and then high school as well. And then, kind of dropped off once I left high school, but now I'm back working in it and I'm absolutely loving it. So
that's good. I like the idea of a raspberry Coke and
it's not the first
chips.
story that we've had where it's been a grandparent and a bag of chips sitting on the side of the green.
Yeah. I fell off a seat once watching my grandmother play bowls. Well, we won't get into that. So, Erica, can you just talk to us about what you did before you came to Bowls Canterbury, please?
Yeah, so I was a bit different to Meg, actually. I grew up in the wee Wanaka town down south, and once I left school, I went to the University of Canterbury and studied a degree of sport coaching, majoring in strength and conditioning, minoring in sports science. And I played everything under the sun, basically netball, rowing, touch, everything apart from bowls. And I went to talk to Lorraine at Bowls Canterbury, and I said, who do I talk to, what connections, because she knows everyone in sport and everyone in Canterbury, which is great. And then she said, there's actually a job up at Bowls Canterbury being the youth and development facilitator. And I was like, okay. She goes, have a think on it and everything like that. And so that's how I got into the role at Bowls Canterbury. But Meg and I get out on the green every Friday afternoon.
I was just going to ask you.
Yeah. As soon as we got out there, got pretty competitive. We've got a trophy that sits in the middle of our desk. So,
Who's the holder of the trophy at the moment?
I think it's actually Erica.
I think it is.
It was really embarrassing because initially I took Erica out and I was like, right, let me show you the ropes. I've been doing this for a few years, and then she picked it up straight away and started winning, and I was like, right, I need to start, going a bit harder on her.
We have a similar story here at Bowls New Zealand, don't we, Alex? Where we compete on a Friday afternoon for a trophy.
Yeah, we do.
Yep, the staff that are around. Yep. And for Alex, has been bowling 20 years?
It took me
20 weeks to win it.
20 weeks, yeah. It was disappointing, to be honest.
It was entertaining,
but a highlight of my career. Get that little trophy.
Yep.
One bowl close, happy days. I always blame where you have the we don't use our own bowls when we have our staff bowl off, so therefore it isn't my fault. It's the equipment.
It's the coloured barefoot
bowl.
It's
the equipment and the surroundings that is the problem.
The bowls.
But
it's like we blame the green
all the time.
We've got a green that is all right for casual stuff, I'd say, at our work, but not much more than that. And if it hasn't been rolled in a while, we just usually go, oh, well, that's just the green's fault.
It's the weather.
You all sound like real bowlers. This is great.
We do, don't we, this way? Yeah.
Okay. So
I'd just like to point out that we all use the same bowls that Alex uses as well, and there's been a lot of people who repeat one
that's
over
not relevant
the 20
here.
weeks.
Let's move on to the next part of the conversation. So you've introduced us, or you to us, which is great, and it's been cool. You guys have been up here actually just for the information. One of the things we do as Bowls New Zealand, we like to keep in contact with our centres. So Bowls Canterbury has been up in the Bowls New Zealand office saying hello and just sort of learning a bit about what happens at the national office, which has been cool. Would you like just to chat to us a little bit about what your roles are at Bowls Canterbury? We may as well start at the beginning again, I suppose. So Meg, you're to my left. If you could talk us through what you do.
So my official role is events and social media coordinator. So that is a pretty big umbrella term for pretty much everything everything that kind of comes in and out of the office in terms of communication. So I look after the social media, the website, things like that, which were, pulling on my previous skills and experience in terms of event management and promotions. But then something pretty new for me in this job, which is a big part of my job, is the management of the draws, the program, all of that kind of fun stuff that comes with the sports administration role, I guess. So yeah, it's pretty busy. I mean, obviously a lot busier over summer when a lot of bowls is going on, but I think a lot of people don't realise that, some people ask, what do you guys do in winter? And
Everything.
it's like, what do you think we do in winter? Like, we've got so much to plan for the summer. So that's when we're putting at the moment, we've just finished putting our program together for the next season, and that's a huge process in terms of consultation with clubs and players and all sorts of things. And then, putting the handbook together, even that's a pretty big task, working on getting sponsorship, things like that. So there's a lot that we actually do day to day, even in the winter time when people think, oh, we're just taking a nice holiday. No, it's actually one of the busiest times of year. So yeah, and then by the time summer comes around, it's hopefully at a point where it almost runs itself. So yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's a good summary. Erica, it's your turn. So if you want to talk us through what your role entails, or some of what your role entails at Bowls Canterbury.
Yes, of course. So my title is the Youth and Development Facilitator. So mainly working with the secondary school kids and trying to get more participation and breaking that stereotype that bowls is for the elder generation and all that. I've also got the role with the coaching in Canterbury, so trying to encourage more coaches into clubs and working alongside Graham Rees from Bowls New Zealand with that, which is awesome. And I also work closely with Kevin Smith, who is with the Disability Bowls, and we're trying to get that up and running and just trying to make sure that they don't feel like they're separated from all the other secondary schools, and everyone just go out there, play bowls and have fun. So that's my role.
That's cool. So both of you guys have been I know Erica's been here or been at Bowls Canterbury for a slightly shorter time than Meg, but it's sort of not a huge amount of time. But if you look back over the last sort of year and a half, is there anything you're particularly proud of that Bowls Canterbury's done that you think that went well?
Ask anyone from Canterbury and I'm pretty sure it was much like this for a lot of the country. The season that we just had was probably the wettest season in 100 years. I don't want to say 100 years, but I haven't been around that long. But no matter who you talk to, people are like, that was just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I think there was maybe 5 or 6 weekends over that real busy period that were completely rained out, and that made it a massive nightmare in terms of what we were doing with our centre events. Our interclub was all affected. It just made things really tough, considering it was my first year and I hadn't had any experience in terms of how to manage that. But I'm really proud, I guess, of how we overcame those challenges. And it was a lot of early mornings where I'd have to wake up and field the calls from the greenkeepers and keep the information line updated of what was open, what was closed, what was changing. So I think I'm definitely quite proud of myself in terms of how much I've learned this year. And I'm just proud of how Canterbury players have handled the weather, I guess, and the challenges we've overcome with that. So it's just been a mammoth season, and I really hope we don't have another one like that anytime soon.
You've got a nice relaxed winter now.
So that's what they say. But I guess that's probably what I'm most proud of. Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Erica, what about yourself?
Probably just most proud that because I am still young and everything like that, it's lots of people are wanting change, and to see that, because I kind of studied all that, and getting into the big wide world, I was like, I'm probably going to have to face a lot of people that don't like change and all that, but it's really cool to work alongside people that are wanting change and to really push for new exciting things.
And you can see that happening as well. I mean, even in the last 3 or 4 years, if you look at how the bowls landscape feels,
yes,
I think there's probably been some pretty good progression, and it's just good to see it continuing. So on that same vein, I suppose, looking forward to the next sort of year or 2 years, 2 seasons, what are you guys looking to do? Is there anything big in the plans? Big changes?
Well, I guess I'm really looking forward to just getting out there and doing it all again with a bit more experience under my belt.
And no rain.
And no rain. Touch wood. But I think it was such a crazy year, and I kept thinking to myself, man, if I can get through this in my first year, I'll be ready for anything, whatever they throw at me in the next few seasons. So, and I say that, but I've had a lot of support as well, and that support has come from people just volunteering to pop in and help me with draws, and giving up their time to just say, like, hey, can I help you move some stuff around? Can I be someone just as a soundboard to bounce some ideas off? So that kind of stuff's been so invaluable. for me. And yeah, I guess that's what I'm looking forward to in terms of now that I've got a bit more experience, going out there and doing a better job next year.
Excellent. Erica, what about yourself? What are you looking forward to?
Looking forward to, kind of just what I was touching on before about change. And I feel like lots of other sports has a lot of things in place because they're all developed and everything like that. But with bowls, it's quite new for the youth. So I've got quite a lot of flexibility and opportunity and demand from those age groups. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. Okay, well, we always ask a bonus question. I think this is our 20th or 21st week of the Bowls Hour, and we ask like a random bonus question at the end. We've had talk about mouse traps and eggs and
Vegemite versus
if you put
Marmite.
like cream on it.
Do you use a bookmark?
Yeah, so on and so forth. So this one we thought we'll ask the question of you guys is, if you've got peanut butter, do you prefer crunchy peanut butter or smooth peanut butter?
It's got to be crunchy.
Yeah, straight up crunchy.
It's
Gotta be.
Any day.
I'm from Nelson, so Pic's peanut butter. If you haven't been, you've got to go to the factory. They've just opened their brand new big factory, and it's just got to be crunchy. You've got to have that texture. Otherwise, it's just kind of like, what's the point? It's not
it just sticks to the roof of your mouth, and it's just not nice.
Yeah.
Alex, what are you?
I don't have dentures, so the crunchy peanut butter for me as well. But I know that's a bugbear for your denture wearers. Is I reckon the crunchy ones aren't so much fun. But I go crunchy, and I like the Pix one as well. I agree with that.
And we're obviously none of us have peanut allergies here. If we're all okay with
Well,
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, ladies, thank you very much for talking to us today, Meg and Erica. It's been great to have you and actually have you in with us talking, not just over the phone. We need to do more of this when you get more people to come and see us, Alex. This would be great. And up next, we're going to have a conversation with Wendy Suttie here on the Bowls Hour. Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. Alex, who are we speaking to next?
Yes, we've got Wendy Suttie on the line, Erin, and she is one of our international technical officials who are travelling to the Commonwealth Games very shortly. Wendy, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Congratulations, Wendy, on your next experience in the bowling umpire officiating world.
Yes, it's a wee bit exciting.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like it too. I thought we'd start at the beginning, Wendy, and I wanted to get from you, what's your first memory of lawn bowls?
Oh, being coerced and to go along to have a roll up at the club by my mother, who insisted that I should try this game, and I went very reluctantly, and have to say that by the end of a couple of hours at the bowling club, I was totally hooked.
Excellent. That's the stories we like to hear.
Were there any bags of chips or fizzy drink involved as bribes in this? Because we hear that a lot. People going along with parents or grandparents and normally just having the chips and drink.
No. There was no bribing, but there was just, my mother was very insistent and very persistent, and it was go just to get rid of this, you see. But it backfired.
That's brilliant. That's good. So that's your first memory of bowls. How's your bowling career gone, Wendy? Are you still able to play a lot, or is it umpiring?
I play it, but I enjoy playing the game. I enjoy club activities and things like that. But I'm not as competitive as I was when I first started.
That's sure. And we mentioned, obviously, you're going to the Com Games as an international technical official, and that journey has to start somewhere. So what interested you about becoming an umpire in the first place? What was it that kicked that off?
Oh, I think I've played quite a lot of different sports, and I always get involved with the rules and the laws and the frameworks that you play the sports in. So previous to playing bowls, I was a netball umpire. Or referee. I've also been a volleyball referee, a basketball referee, and been involved in the administration of quite a lot of different sports. So that's kind of why when I got into bowls, I played for a bit and then got into umpiring.
How did you find it in comparison, like being an umpire at lawn bowls? How does that compare to being a ref at volleyball?
It's quite different. As a bowls umpire, you don't run around with a whistle penalising people for doing things wrong. As a bowls umpire, you really are just a resource for the players. You support the players playing their game, and you're really just an adjunct to the game. You don't actually insert yourself into the game at all like you do in other sports.
What, did you get much encouragement when you started down this track of becoming an umpire?
I did from the senior umpires. I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 umpires that I could name who are still active, who've been extremely influential particularly in moving from local umpiring into the international scene.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that question just for Joe Bloggs and for me because I'm not sure. What levels of umpire do we have in New Zealand? Like who are you? What's the stepping stones, if you could explain
when you first train as an umpire, you train at what we call level 1, which allows you to umpire at your local and centre level. And then you progress from there to level 2, which qualifies you to be a national umpire, so you can do national events and inter-centre events and things like that. And then if you are really interested, then you can apply to qualify as an international technical official, and that's assessed by World Bowls. So that requires a little bit more training. And then once you've been appointed to a World Bowls event, and the Commonwealth Games is one of those, then you progress to level 4.
Level 4?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm a level 3. Once I've done these Commonwealth Games, then I'll be a level 4.
That's exciting. And
what comes after the Commonwealth Games in level 4? You make the rules.
That's just you've made it.
Yeah, you've done well.
So how long has that journey taken for you, Wendy, from the start to making it to the Games?
I first qualified in 2010. So that was when I was a level 1, and I think I did my level 2 in 2012, and I became an international in 2017.
And was there any, what was the reason that you stepped up from your sort of national to international level umpire? What was the motivation behind that?
I probably would blame Helen Stallard for that, because she encouraged me to be involved in the World Champion of Champions singles in Christchurch in 2013 when I was still a level 2. And being a part of the team that Helen had put together for that event, and umpiring as a part of a team, which is a totally different thing than what you normally do, was so enjoyable. I just couldn't let it go. I had to keep going.
Oh, fair enough.
Nice.
We'll let her know that she's it's her fault.
Yeah, that I tagged her.
That's great. So if you look back over so you've had, say, 12 years of umpiring now. Do you have any what are favourite moments that pop up for you in your umpiring career? Anything that sticks out?
Oh, no, there's probably too many to list. I'd have to say the most favourite thing was actually doing the chief umpire's job at the Nationals in Christchurch. I really enjoyed that experience.
Yes.
It was a whole different thing, because instead of being, I was part of the team, but I was also coordinating the team and just working with all those great umpires. It was just magical.
Yeah, and you guys all did a fantastic job as well at that Nationals. It was good. It's not an easy job. It's almost like
they were a great team.
How many umpires would you have had to coordinate at that event, Wendy?
There were 37 of them. They didn't all work all the time, but there were 37 of them all up.
Yeah.
And most of them did at least 2 days, and some of them did the whole 8 days.
Yeah. So when you think about that, 37 umpires, 8 days of competition play, that's a lot of organising. That's a big job for you, isn't it?
Well, I would have to say I didn't do it alone. I did it as a part of the whole team.
There's a team, yeah.
and also the Bowls New Zealand team were in there too.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the background stuff done by Chris and Alex is you just really piggyback on that as an umpire. You just fill the gaps.
Yeah, I think that's just knowing those numbers and the people that you need to organise. I didn't realise there was that many umpires involved in the event like that. So it's a big. There's lots of people that get the events going for these bowlers.
Yeah, well, it's 22 clubs, so that's a lot of people.
For sure. So have you ever burnt a bowl, Wendy? I think we had your fellow ITO Sue on. When did we have her? At some point.
My roomie.
Yeah. And we asked her if she'd burned a bowl. I'm not sure if she had, so I was going to ask you, have you ever had the honour of burning a bowl at a lawn bowls tournament yet?
No.
No. Is that something you look forward to? I've always thought it's the one thing I'd do as an umpire. I reckon if someone played a foul bowl, I'd burn it and just go,
Well, I don't. That's where it comes into umpires. Not actually, we're not policemen. We don't go out there to regulate things. You really are there to. The game belongs to the players, and the only time the umpire is in the game is if the players invite them in.
Yes.
By asking a question, and asking them to adjudicate on a decision or to do a measure or something like that. So, yeah, I don't think I would be looking to burn a bowl as
So
such.
I shouldn't become an umpire then.
Alex just can't wait to get out there and
I'll
go, nope,
I'll
that
rule with
one
an
doesn't
iron
count."
fist.
This is why we have
I
Wendy.
think we probably have to do a bit of realigning of your attitude, Alex.
Okay. That's a fair call. I've been told that before. So you leave for the Commonwealth Games pretty shortly. Have you do you do any training before you get to the Com Games, and do you know what to expect when you get there? Have you spoken to anyone?
Yes, I do. I do a lot of practicing visual exercises, just practicing because when we go marking, we have to, often call, and the players, when they ask you to they want to know accurately. So I train my eyes, and the other thing I do is I do a lot of fitness. So I'm swimming and walking and occasionally getting on my bike.
Swimming, walking and biking. You could nearly be a triathlete.
To step into one of the athlete's shoes. That's great.
Yeah, not at my age, no.
That's good, and we wish you all the best for the upcoming Commonwealth Games. I've got one more question, Wendy, and if you've listened to the Bowls Hour before, we always ask a bonus question, just something that's got nothing to do with the price of fish. So this week's bonus question is peanut butter. Do you prefer it smooth or crunchy?
Absolutely smooth.
Ooh, this is the first because the majority
And
have been.
it has to be Pic's peanut butter.
We've had the picks come up quite a bit. Picks are going to do well out of this podcast, I think.
What's the reason behind the smooth one? It's just a nicer sort of texture? Or?
It's easier to make satay sauce with smooth peanut butter.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. Do you buy the picks in the big jars because you go through that much of it if you're making satay sauce and stuff?
Biggest jar I can get.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to us, Wendy. We wish you all the best for your stint up in the Northern Hemisphere with the Commonwealth Games, and we hope that you thoroughly enjoy the experience.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Thanks, Wendy.
And next up, we have Mike Galloway here on the Bowls Hour. Welcome back to the Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel. Alex, who are we speaking to next?
Yes, Erin, we're talking to Mike Galloway very shortly. Mike, you're on the line, are you?
Yes, I am, Alex, yes.
Great, that's good news. So we've got Mike Galloway on the show just to have a chat about all the things. So I thought we'll start with at the beginning, Mike, and I just wanted to ask you what's your first memory of bowls, of lawn bowls?
Well, I was down in Palmerston North, down in high school. My dad was a greenkeeper, and high school was right next to the bowling club where Dad was a greenkeeper. So I'd shoot across there, and he'd bring me home, and I'd watch the guys play bowls, and never thought obviously I'd ever take the game up, at that stage, obviously.
Yeah, and what sort of, from watching it to taking the game up, what was the catalyst? What got you started in the
I ended up being a greenkeeper at Palmerston Bowling Club, so it was a natural process being a greenkeeper that I took up playing bowls.
Fair enough, got to
Makes
chuck
sense.
some bowls up. So you you go.
I was 18 then, of course, when I started bowls.
That's pretty good. And did it take you long to sort of get hooked into the sport? So from the little bit where you're rolling up into...
I was pretty much addicted to the sport. Obviously, down there, I was pretty young, and Palmerston was a pretty strong club. So I was playing against better players. When you play against better players, obviously, you learn all the tricks and all the off the better players.
Yeah, for sure.
You learn pretty quick as well.
You do, yes.
That's cool. So you started off in Palmerston North, and I suppose for those who don't know, you've had like a two-pronged career because you were really successful, and then you took a bit of time off and started again. So I was wondering if you could just talk us through like your first sort of run of success from when you took up the game to your little the break that you had. Some of the career highlights from there would be great, please.
Yeah, well, obviously I was reasonably good as a junior, and then once I got into year 6 with the seniors, I actually managed to make the Manawatu to intercept team and play with Peter Shaw, which certainly which is pretty good for me. Obviously, I went off a master, and then won a few things down there, and then my wife and I decided to move to the Big Smoke in Auckland. And I was playing pretty good. I won a couple of Super Bowls in those days. Which no longer happens, and then I managed to go to Hong Kong a couple of times with Paul Gergler and Peter Biller. So I sort of knew I was obviously playing pretty good. And then obviously 2001, I won the singles in Auckland. I won the pairs and lost the final of the singles to Mike Kernahan. That was probably the highlight then. And then I pretty much gave up for 14 years. My wife and I decided to have a family. So I did the Saturday sport thing with all the kids, with the football and the cricket.
Was it a hard decision to make, Mike, when you sort of...
That was the easiest decision I ever made in my life, to be fair.
Yeah.
I wanted to be there for my kids. I wanted them to on the weekends and just watch them grow up and do the weekend sport dad. And that was probably the easiest decision I actually made in my life. From Bowls.
That's cool. That's brilliant. So you've recently been announced in our Commonwealth Games, or our international team to travel to Birmingham.
Alex is trying to get the wording right.
How am I to say it?
Been recently selected by the NZOC to represent New Zealand in lawn bowls at the next Commonwealth Games.
Right. Can you talk us about how did that feel to hear your name read out?
Oh, that was pretty surreal, to be fair. Well, I got the call up about 3 weeks ago to play in the Tasman, so I knew I was sort of in the picture, and I played pretty good over there, and then was just waiting for the phone call to see whether but like the All Blacks, waiting for the phone call to see if you're in or out, and got the phone call to say I was in. Yeah, I must admit there was a few tears shed there. I was with my daughter and my wife, so that was pretty special to be. To be announced in the Commonwealth Games. Yeah.
That's great. It's well deserved as well. So in comparison, you played for New Zealand 20 years ago. You talked about going to Hong Kong. Did you think you'd get back into the New Zealand team? Was that ever in your sights?
No, it probably wasn't actually. No, it wasn't. It wasn't all. I came back to play bowls. I just played with my mates, David Clark and Martin Dixon, those guys. We were going pretty well. And then obviously 2 years ago, I managed to obviously win the New Zealand singles. And I thought, well, I can still compete against the big boys. And then I sort of kept my form from then right through, and obviously singles sort of got me into the squad, and then I sort of just kept playing pretty well, and obviously at the pinnacle of the career, getting nominated, obviously and selected for the Comm Games was pretty special, very special.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And just a quick segue before we talk a bit more about the Comm Games, and it's on behalf of a lot of bowlers, I think, because if anyone's seen you play, Mike, you've got essentially a textbook delivery, it's just lovely, nice and smooth. Did that happen naturally, or did you watch people, or can you talk us through how you developed that?
I probably picked a few players, like Ryan Bracey and Peter Bellis, and those guys that got sweet delivery. So I just sort of picked a few things from them and just sort of used it to me and put them all together and just used it as my delivery.
Yeah, that's good.
That's done well for you.
Well, what was staggering? It's incredible to watch because, if you think about what your delivery looks like on a 20-second green, and then you watch you play, like when you went to Aussie a few weeks ago for the Trans-Tasman on what were 8 or 9 second greens, it looks very similar, and that's harder to do.
Yeah, it doesn't feel much. It doesn't feel much difference to me, to be fair. I don't mind playing on slow greens or fast greens. So you just got to adapt a little bit more. But yeah.
No, it's good signs. So on that note, so you're heading off to the Commonwealth Games. What sort of practice are you guys doing up to then? Is there a plan on sort of...
Yeah, most of the guys are playing on Croaky lawns, but I'm lucky at Pakuranga Bowling Club. They've got a green which hasn't been used at all, and I'm just cutting it to the height that I need. It's running about, probably about 10 or 11 seconds, so I'm pretty much there most days, playing for a good hour, just fine-tuning a few things.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And have you had a chat to, they named the team, did you have a chat to your teammates after it was named, just to see how everyone was feeling?
Oh, no, I think well, not really, to be fair. We just obviously met down in Christchurch last weekend for a training camp, so we got to do a bit of team bonding. So yeah, but I know the guys quite well. We're all feeling in well, so yeah, looking forward to it big time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to following your guys' results as well. It's been a good chat I can't think of anything else I was going to ask Erin.
Just the bonus question.
Yeah, just the bonus question to go. Okay, so I'm not sure if you've listened to the Bowls Hour before, but we always ask a weird question.
That's right.
To get to know people a little bit more.
Just to see.
No,
Just to
here we
see
go.
personalities.
Don't panic. So this week's question is: if you were to have peanut butter on, I don't even care if it's on toast or bread, but peanut butter, do you prefer it crunchy or smooth?
It's an easy question. I hate peanut butter.
Oh, there you go.
I can't eat it. So that's a pretty simple answer to
There
question
you
to answer,
go.
actually.
What do you have on your toast instead?
I have honey.
Oh, there we go. Oh, nice.
I have honey.
Yeah.
I'm a honey man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like honey.
Yeah.
Every morning for breakfast on my toast, honey.
Yeah, there you go. Make sure that there's honey overseas up in
Indeed,
the UK.
indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Got to have the breakfast of champions before you go. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, Mike. It's been a pleasure, and we wish you all the best for your campaign in the Commonwealth Games.
Thanks, Erin. Thanks for having me on
No
the show.
worries.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Mike liked honey. What are you, Alex? Are you peanut butter crunchy, peanut butter smooth?
I think I'm a peanut butter crunchy.
Yep.
And we spoke to Erica and Meg earlier on, and Meg mentioned that she was from Nelson with the Pix peanut butter.
Yes.
So if I was to be really specific, for sure, I think a Pix peanut butter is
peanut
good.
butter.
And I used to have it with Marmite on toast.
Peanut butter and Marmite.
Yep.
Okay, that's a bit weird.
Yep, used to
All
mix
right.
it up.
What? Okay, so I'm definitely a crunchy person. Used to know all the words to the peanut butter song Utter Peanut Butter Nutter. Yes,
That's
yes.
great.
Yep. That was a good sing along. I will put butter on before my peanut butter though.
That's
I can't
interesting.
use peanut butter as a regular butter. It needs to have that layer of
A
butter
layer
first.
of butter. How do you feel about the American, the peanut butter and jam or peanut butter and jelly?
I'm not a fan.
I've never understood it.
No.
Yeah, I tried it once out of curiosity.
Yeah.
And this is coming from a space of someone who has peanut butter and Marmite and quite enjoys it.
Yeah.
But the peanut butter and jam, I just couldn't.
No.
Nah,
No. No.
I don't get it. I blame it on America.
Which is odd because I like peanut butter and chocolate. And chocolate is sweet.
But not your peanut butter
But
and
not
jam.
peanut butter and jam. But Americans do peanut butter and jelly.
And jelly's the fine jam, isn't it?
Oh, I thought it was more of a jelly jam, like more of a
it's
firmer
like a strained
consistency.
sort of thing.
Something. We could go on
It's
about
worth
this
talking
forever.
about,
It
yeah,
is
it's
worth talking
interesting.
about. It is. And on that note, peanut butter and jam, jelly, Marmite, crunchy or smooth, whichever you decide. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Bowls Hour for all things bowls. If you enjoy listening to this podcast, remember to share it around. We can be found on Facebook every week from 7 p.m, as well as Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and the Bowls New Zealand website, or wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in next week for more talk about everything bowls, and until then, roll on.
They've lost their last two, but they could have probably won both of them.
Fantastic looking facility there in the deep south.
I'm sure they're going to come out firing tonight.
From memory, he was leading last week. Are you going to be leading this week, or?
From bottom with 6 points and second from bottom with 3. Yes and no. Yes and no. It paid off for them. They got a 2, double the 4 and won 6 points. Depends what the teams above you do, doesn't it? The Bowls Hour, brought to you by Somerset Retirement Villages and Dynasty Apparel.